Hello and welcome back to the show. You're watching Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Johnny Freeborn, and our next guest is Kristin. And
Hello.
She comes from an acupuncture background, but you have some, what are these, rocks, minerals,
I have
crystals?
some minerals with me, yes.
Okay.
So I own a rock shop called Wise Owl Minerals, and I have been focusing on the Chinese perspective of how these heal, which has been really fascinating.
Interesting.
Yes.
So what do you mean by that?
So the Chinese way back in the day were very focused on longevity. And I'm sure we're all still focused on it, but they were focused to the point of trying to maybe
Like longer lifespan?
die. Yeah,
or?
live
Okay.
like, until you're 300 or something.
I see.
And so they would try to make elixirs and potions out of these rocks to live. And they found ways that different rocks would heal the body. And so they used them just like we would use medicine.
Wow.
And yeah, when I first got into rocks, I couldn't believe that there was this other side of them. And so I've really enjoyed learning and teaching about that.
Okay, so is it ingesting these minerals, or is it rubbing them on you externally?
That's
or
a great question. So it depends. So if you had an ailment, like a rash on your skin, you could actually grind a certain stone up, make it into a poultice, and then apply that right on the skin. Some stones, if you're working through something maybe more emotional, you could make an elixir of it where you just let the stone sit in water, and then eventually you would drink that water. You have to be cautious because some stones you don't want to be drinking, but
All right.
there's many, many ways to use them. And I mean, some ways to use them are even just simply holding them.
Is there a stone for getting rid of kidney stones?
Yes.
There
Yes.
is.
There's a stone for everything.
A stone that defeats them all.
I know,
Yes.
the massive stone. I think one of the most important things I've learned in all aspects of healing is just for people to really start to explore what their options are. People sometimes get stuck. I mean, it's changed a lot when we got the internet because people are more open to seeing what other options are out there.
Yeah.
But stones are another option to just look into.
Okay. I was thinking if I could throw in a Rolling Stones joke here, but
There's
nothing's
so
coming
many
to me.
stone jokes.
So-
I love puns.
Okay.
I do. I have more acupuncture puns from that background. The jab well done.
Well, crank them out
Take
if
a
you think
stab
of
at
any,
it.
during
Yeah.
the interview. If you think of any, just go
This
ahead.
job rocks. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what's your go-to stone?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it changes a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you have favorites based on what you're going through. And that's one of the most important things, too, is people will come to me and they'll have an interest in stones, but say, well, I don't really know anything about them, as if that's a bad thing. And that's actually a great thing, because if you don't know anything about them, you don't have any bias, and then you're drawn to what you're drawn to. So people will pick out a stone and be really drawn to it and not sure why. And then you talk to them and they say, oh, I am focusing on love right now. I feel very heartbroken. I don't feel loved and appreciated. Of course you picked rose quartz. That's exactly how it happens. So it's really interesting in that way. I think one of my favorite stones right now is sunstone. It's a stone that is found in Oregon, and it's just beautiful because it focuses on benevolence. And I feel like we can't have enough love.
Explain that. What do you mean it focuses?
It really has an affinity. So stones will have an affinity to a certain part of the body, which in Chinese medicine connects to an emotional part of you and a physical part of you. So the kidneys, for instance, are about fear and depth and intensity. And so if you're having kidney problems, maybe you're also struggling with fear. Or maybe if you're having fear, maybe you should look into what's going on with your kidneys. So it's that kind of aspect that you can look into. So benevolence, it has, just like medicine, you'll take heart medicine that has an affinity for your heart, and you don't think twice about it because your doctor prescribes it. But, it's the same thing with the stones. They have an affinity, just like herbs will do the same thing. They have an affinity to a certain part of you.
Now, what would you say to some of the naysayers that would maybe point out the placebo effect, or, you think you're fixing something and therefore it's mind over matter kind of a deal?
Yes. That's a great question, too. In Chinese medicine in school, there was this joke I heard, and I thought it was so true. And they said you could wave a bloody chicken over someone's head, and if it took away their pain, they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
And the thing is I really think it's a very personal thing. And I've always encouraged anyone I've encountered to keep looking. If you don't find that something's working for you, keep going.
I see.
And when somebody calls me and says, oh, my doctor said, there's nothing that can be done. Should I come see you? I always say yes, because what the doctor is saying is, to my understanding, there is nothing that can be done.
Right, and science kind of has a cap on it as far as how much we know right now.
Yeah, and I really believe there is an important balance that every single person has to find between opening their mind and seeing what's working. And so if something's not working, don't do it. But I think it's important to open our minds a bit, and there was a great meme I saw too about, I'll drink this, fluorescent colored Gatorade and not think twice about it. But if you want me to use lavender essential oil, I'm going to have to do some research on that. So it's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And there are a lot of things that we ingest on a daily basis that these corporations aren't telling us about. The ingredients they're putting in there, and so scary.
Yes.
But there's been some professionals over the years, as these Chinese have tried out different, give or take methods.
Yes.
And I feel bad for the guinea pigs, like the first ones that ingested some
bone.
stone that's
Absolutely. And they used to use, back in the day, acupuncture, the first needles were made out of bone, and they were thick.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. It was a pretty intense process. Wow. But I wrote an article once about acupuncture, and I said the reason acupuncture is still around is not because the Chinese are stubborn. It's because it works. So I think it's important for people to get out there and try new things and see what works for them.
Right.
And that's it. That's
Very
really
good.
the short of it. Yeah.
Where are you located?
I am located in my home. I actually moved here from North Carolina with my husband. He got a job here.
Okay.
And so I've been doing the rocks out of my home. And I originally was looking for a location, but I've been doing all online work.
All right.
And it's been very rewarding. And I've gotten a chance to connect to people in town, too. So I joined the Fresno Gem and Mineral Society, which is a great group of people. And so I got to do the big Fresno Fair and volunteer that, which was a lot of fun. And I have been connecting in town as far as Perfect Balance Yoga. I'm actually going to start teaching a meditation class there with crystals and essential oils to get people seasonally balanced. So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, do you have any web presence or social media?
Yes, the best place to find me is on Instagram, and it's Wise Owl Minerals. That is the best way because I post all of my pictures there. I also post them on my Facebook, but that is hands down the best place to find all of my rocks.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Kristin.
Thank you.
And I hope you come back sometime.
I will. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll be right back.